Hi guys, Crafty Crystal here. Um, Today I wanted to show you a little bit of what I've been doing for cat, cat and dog rescue places. You have spare yarn, you have a pattern you want to try out. Do a large swatch and give it to a rescue for a kittens or a dog. It's not hard, doesn't have to be big. For cats and dogs, for a bottom pad, nice sturdy thick bottom pad. Cats is 17 or 18 inches square, and dogs is 2 by 3 feet. This is just a granny square done with just granny, plain straight granny, but done with 2 strands to make it real thick, and just changed out the colors. Makes a nice sturdy pad for them to lay on. This is a rectangular one I did in the granny square. And to make a rectangular one in the granny is real easy. Since it's 2 by 3, you make your middle 1 foot. Then when you do a foot off of each end, that makes 3. When you do a foot on each side, that makes 2. And it's a good way to use up bits of yarn. I had a little bit, little bit, little bit, little bit, little bit, and so on. And I got to use them all up with a white as a base. I'm also staying in my plarn. This is a plarn one. Keep the cold off the cement because they do have some of the cases that have to stay on cement. And this will be a good underpad for a regular pad. And this is just a straight single crochet the whole way. Now this isn't a cat pad, it's a blanket for the to put in the pet cage. And it was something I was just trying out, kind of an adaptation of another stitch I saw on YouTube. And the one I saw on YouTube was called I think it's the closed granny. I'm not sure. I have the name and the description below, okay? And to start this pattern, you want sets of 4 plus 2 for each end, so that's another 4, plus 3 to go up. So called sets of 4, 2 to go up, 3 to go up. Okay, so sets of 4 plus 3. And if you're doing a single, it'll be sets of 4 plus 1. If you're doing a half double, it'll be sets of 4 plus 2. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside. Okay, I have sets of 4, and I'm going to add 2. And these 2 here belong to this stitch. This is the base stitch for the 2 I just added on. So you want to go into the very next stitch after that. So I'm going to wrap. Okay, and bring through all 3. Wrap. Bring through all 3. This is my half double crochet. I'm going to do this all the way down because this is the outside edge and it's not part of the pattern. Okay? Now a little tip for the end. You know how on the very end of your crochet you'll end up with a bigger hole on the end where your knot was? The easiest way to handle that is make sure you go through 2 stitches, 2 of your threads instead of 1 when you do the last knot. Okay? Now I'm changing colors at the same time here. So I'm going to pull this up. All right. And we go up 3 because we're doing doubles on the back, on the way back. Okay. Now, whenever I start a line with doubles, triples, any of that, I go through my chain line. This gives me 2 stitches stuck together on the end instead of a big gap. See there? No gap. So we're just going to double straight across. No holes, no skip stitches, just double stitch across. Okay? See you at the end. Now, so you don't get confused, when you have your end, you see the one that's sitting on top that you can see clearly? Okay. That belongs to this one. So you want to go into that one. And now you have one more to go into, and that's the one for the end chain. So you want to wrap, go into that chain, try to get 2 threads. Stronger with 2. I still got 1. That's okay. It's a swatch. 1, 2, 3, and turn. Now, go into my chain. That's my wrap loop. Now this is 2 stitches, and I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to skip 1. And I'm going to do sets of 3 all the way across, and I'm going to do them with a chain 1 and a skip stitch between each set of 3. So chain 1, skip 1, and do another set of 3. And do that all the way across. And at the end, have your set of 3, a chain 1, and your last stitch. And I don't like that. I'd rather have 2 on the side. Okay, I might as well show you another little trick while I'm at it. I would like to have 2 stitches here instead of 1, and I didn't allow enough. So I'm going to go clear down to here and bring up another stitch. Show you how I do that. Since this is going to be a connected stitch, I'm going to connect up here. Okay. Here is where this stitch ended right here. So I'm going to go in there. Then I'm going to connect the stitch here. And then I'm going to go into the base. So I'll go into the base right, I guess the stitch right next to the one I went in before. Whoops. Is that my chain one? That's where I changed color. Not a good stitch to use. Okay, let me use this one. There we go. Now I just go through 2 and 2 and 2 and 2. I'll come up, see there? I have my 2 on the end. Okay. Now through these last 2 stitches, on top of making one deeper, I got to add another color here. Let's add rust. A rusty color. Okay, and chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn. Okay. Okay, connect my first stitch, go into this stitch. Now, all the way across, you're going to have a stitch on one side of the hole, and the stitch on the other side. Over the hole, you're going to wrap twice, like for a triple. You're going to go down into the stitch that you missed on the bottom and pull up a loop. You're going to wrap and go through 2, wrap and go through 3. This is a modified triple. It makes it tall enough to go down without pulling, and it makes it thicker up here so it looks like the other stitches. And then you go just wrap and do a regular double on the other side. Okay? Now, you're going to skip the next stitch. So you chain 1, you've done a set of 3, you chain 1, skip a stitch, and you go down into the next stitch. Now you wrap twice, go down into the hole you missed, the stitch you missed down here in the hole, pull up a loop, go through 2, go through 3, wrap and go to the very next stitch. Now, if you should get confused on what stitch you're using, here's the hole, and this is the stitch that belongs to the hole. This is the stitch that belongs to this shaft here, and this is the stitch that belongs to this shaft here. So when you look at it frontwise, it looks like you're going in the hole and then skipping a stitch, but you're not. This is the stitch that belongs to this shaft, so it's the correct one to use. This is the stitch that belongs to this shaft, so this is the correct one to use. Remember, you're going backwards, so your stitches look different than if you were going frontward. Frontward is easy to see. This one belongs to here, this belongs to the hole, this belongs to there. Backwards it looks different, so don't get lost. Okay, so I did my set of 3, chain 1, skip 1, go on to the next stitch, make a double, then wrap twice because we're going down in the hole, pull your loop up, through 2, through 3, and a regular double in the next stitch. See? You're establishing your pattern. So your first color row is your first actual pattern row. Your second from the base is your setup row. So we'll do this across, and we'll switch colors. 2, 3, and a regular double, chain 1, skip 1, do a double in the next one, wrap twice, go down in the one you missed below, pull your loop up. You want your loop pulled up above your top of your hole, and pull through 3, chain 1, skip 1, go through the next hole. Wrap twice, go down to the bottom to the skipped stitch. Oh, it's one of those days, I think. Skip 1, go to your next stitch. Wrap 2, go down, bring your loop up, and through 3, do your double. Now I'm going to go into this stitch to do my last stitch. And I'm going to change color again. And chain 3. And turn. Whoops. Go into my chain up. Skip the first stitch. That belongs to your chain. Go into your second one and make your double. And now you're over the last long stitch you made. So you want to make a chain 1. You want to skip that long stitch and go into the next stitch. Now you're over a hole. So you wrap twice, go down in the stitch you missed on the bottom, pull your loop up, go through 2, go through 3, and do a double in the next chain. Next chain, next stitch. Okay. Chain 1, skip the stitch over the last long stitch you did, wrap, and go into the next stitch. Wrap twice, go down into your missed stitch, double in the next stitch, chain 1, you skip the stitch that belongs to the long one, and you go into your next stitch. For the rest of the pattern, all you're doing is skipping over the last long stitch and making your next set of 3 on either side of and into the next hole. Now you don't have to do the triple this way, but you'll have a lot thinner top here. It won't be as full looking. That's up to you. You can also change this and do half doubles and doubles. Skip this stitch, chain 1 on the top, go into the next stitch, and because it's one of my ends, I'm going to connect it to the last double somewhere in here. Go down into the chain up, do my double, and I'll be changing colors again. So who am I going to use now? I think I'll use pink. Alrighty. Chain 3 and turn. Go into my chain, go down the next stitch, and I am over my hole, so I'm going to wrap twice, go into the stitch I missed, which is right on top of my last long one below, do my modified triple or modified double, whichever way you want to call it, chain 1, skip 1 over my last long stitch, go into the next one, wrap twice, go down into the missed stitch, pull up a loop, go through 2, go through 3. Now I'm going to do this down, and the last row I'm going to do will close this final gap. It's what you would do at the top of the at the end of the blanket. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go on down to the end here and turn, and I'll be back. Okay. Okay, I went ahead and changed back to the color I started with. And I'm going to go ahead and connect my edge. Now, for the one on the top, where you want to close the gaps, but you don't want to make any new ones, you do no skipping stitches and no chains. You do a double in each stitch, and you do your long triple over each hole. So double wrap, go down into your last hole. This closes the hole and finishes off the pattern. And that's all you have to do. Double crochet across, and every time you reach a chain one, do your long stitch. Now see? Closes up the holes, gives you your closed pattern. And then on the other side I would do this, and then I would do a border all the way around of this color. Now if you didn't start with a different color, you can just leave it. Now in this one here, you see what I did? I had my base color I started with, and I did a set of 3 colors, a set of my base color, a set of 3 different colors, and then I did 3 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. I did 4 rows of my base color, and the last row I made the holes in. So the next stitch I could come down into my holes, just like I did down here. And then another set of the 3 base color, another set of the 3 base color. Now, I hadn't intended on doing this, but I liked the way it turned out. The reason why I did it is because, again, I'm using up colors that I have. And I did not have enough of this color to do another set of rows. I had enough for 3 rows, but not 4. So, by adding this in, I made my little cat blanket wide enough without having to add another color or frog it all out and add another color to it. So that's how you do this little blanket, and I really like it. I really do like it. I like the way it turned out. Now because I'm here, I think I'll show you how Crochet Grandma did. She's the one I got the idea from. Hers are like this. She does a double in here into the hole, and she wraps, does a triple down into here. I think it was a triple. It might have been a double. Don't remember. Then she wraps and does another double in the same hole, in the same gap, I should say. So hers come like this. And I don't know, I'd have to go back and look at it again, but she does hers in sets of 3. So then she would come into the next hole like this. I think she did stretched out doubles. I'll do the stretched out doubles, it's easier. And then she'd switch to the next hole. I don't remember whether she chained one in between or not. I just took her concept and I put the stitches on either side with the chain one between. Whoops. Nope, 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 nope. Up here. And then when she comes back with the next row, she's doing these in here, like this. and it doubles it up into this, and it looks like a bunch of pretty little grannies. That's her concept of it, and it comes out really nice. It really does. I just like this spread out version better. So anyway, look at hers. I'm leaving the link in the bottom, and I really like the way hers came out, but I just wanted a different look on mine, more spread out look. So there you have it. Um, Try it out, enjoy it. So there you have it. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'm going to go to the next cat pad I have and show you how to do that one. Okay, now this one's going to be a dog blanket, and I've done quite a different thing with it. Kind of I had fun with this one. This is actually the back of the pattern, and this is the front of the pattern. If you look up close, I've got a variegated here, and the variegated has a connected double. And then this next one I did with the same color, I did a crab stitch backwards. And I came forward with a plain color that would fit into here somewhere. Go with my variegated, and I did it in half doubles. Then I crab stitched back. I took a second variegated color, and I did connected doubles and crab stitch back. And a solid color that would go along with it or complement it, and did half double crochets and crab stitch back. And I just continued that on. And I did several rows of that. I don't think I want to have enough of the light blue to continue the blanket if I don't add some other color in between, so I put a swatch of my base color, and now I'm continuing on with my pattern. So, right, next one is the green variegated. Okay, that starts my next color. Chain 2, chain 3, and connect my end stitch, go into the next stitch, which is the hole below this bump here. Okay, now I'm going to be doing connected doubles across. So instead of wrapping like that to do a double, I go in back of this last stitch, right in front, on top of stitch below. Okay, then I go down into the next hole, bring up a stitch, make my double, and I go, if you pull it out, you can see where I'm going. I'm going in back of here, pull up a loop, go down into my next hole, do my double. Just like that, all the way across. Here's the hole. Pull the loop up, go into the next hole below my bumps. That's the crab stitch below there anyway. Looks like there. Okay. You end up with this nice connected run going across it. Okay. So that's the connected stitch, and you do that all the way across the blanket. Instead of wrapping, go into it, into the next hole. And you can see the color below from each bump of each crab stitch. In back it looks different because it crosses the crab stitch. Okay? Okay, on the end, you get a little tricky. It looks like you're at the end, but you're not. This is your last one. It looks like just a rolled up side, but it's not. You got to go beyond this knot into the last hole and do your double. And that's the true end of the side. Okay? Now, wait a minute. I didn't go in the hole, I went in the bump. Hold on. I'm going to go in the chain up stitch. There we go. Now that looks better. Okay, now, the nice part of this pattern, especially if you are working on like a big blanket, big piece, instead of having to turn the whole thing over every time, which becomes a chief pain in the neck, you just go backwards. You have the same side facing you all the time. So you chain one, go down into the same hole, bring up a loop, and back, and go through both loops. This is your crab stitch. You back up into the next stitch, bring up a loop, go through both stitches. Oh boy. Let's see if I can get a better, got more light coming in here. Okay. Back up into the next stitch, bring up a loop, go through both. Back up into the next loop. This is the one I just went into the next loop, bring up a loop, back up into the next stitch. That's your crab stitch. You often see this on the edge of wash rags and probably some pot holders. Okay, so you back this up all the way across so your front is still facing you. That's why I love this for big projects. You don't have to turn the whole thing over. Lovely. Okay, so there's your crab stitch. Do it all the way across, and then you add your next color, and it'll be a solid color in this type of pattern. You'd have your variegated and the solid. The solid would come back half doubles all the way, just going into every hole, and then crab stitch back, and then do your variegated color with the connected doubles. And that's all it is, back and forth, back and forth. Never have to turn it over. Lovely, lovely. Okay, so that's this one. And it's because of the back stitch, it's a nice thick little blanket. It could actually be something for a pet to lay on, but it's not real thick like the ones for the cages. It's more like one that they could snuggle up in. Okay, so that's the end of that one. Hold on here. When you're making pet pads, you can also take some little odds and ends and make a little something for a kitten to snuggle up into or play with, or a couple puppies to tug at. This is just a real soft, squishy ball, and I made 3 wigglies off the bottom of it to play with. This is a small snuggle blanket for a kitten. The little blankets, little stuff like that is fun because you can take material that you don't have a whole lot of and try different patterns. And instead of making a small swatch like this to try out a pattern, you're making a bigger swatch, and it's something that a kitten could cuddle up in. And I made a small granny square one and stuck a funky looking cat head on it, kind of a play toy for a doggy. But and you can make little stuff like the little mouse here. You're just more or less starting at a nose, getting bigger, getting smaller. These are like a magic circle with 4 little stitches in it and tied on and then sewn. This is just a couple stitches across uh, a through stitch for each eye. And the tail, when you finish on the bottom and you pull it tight, you just crochet out with a chain and then you slip stitch back and you've got a tiny little tail. See? Very simple to make. And if you don't want to crochet toys, this is an old sock. This is actually it's a sock I got from a Dollar Tree for 2 for $1 or 3 for $1. 2 pairs for $1, I think it was. And inside of it is a vitamin bottle, plastic vitamin bottle, and I put rice in it. You can put rice in it or popcorn or sand gravel, whatever. But it's soft and it's something that puppy could tug on, play with. This is a piece of material that wasn't big enough to do anything in, and I wrapped it around a piece of pool noodle. Just tied it in knots on both with pieces of material on both sides for a dog toy. This is a small thing of yarn. I didn't have anything else to go with. It wasn't big enough to make anything with. So I tied a knot in the end of a piece of sock. It wasn't even a whole sock, it was a piece of one. Put the yarn in there, tied a knot on the other end, and you got a toy. This is a piece of pool noodle with just yarn stuck on it and braided out and knotted. It doesn't take much to make toys for animals. They're pretty much happy with anything. So when you have your pads and your toys and such, go to the nearest rescue place and just say, here, it's for the animals. The animals will appreciate it. If the rescue place is half worth what they're doing, they'll appreciate it. So there you have it, guys. Happy crocheting and keep hooking. Bye-bye.